The Diotrephes. I wrote to the church, but Diotrephes, who loves to have the preeminence among them, does not receive us. Therefore, if I come, I will call to mind his deeds which he does, prating against us with malicious words. And not content with that, he himself does not receive the brethren, and forbids those who wish to, putting them out of the church. Beloved, do not imitate what is evil, but what is good. He who does good is of God, but he who does evil has not seen God. 3 John 1:9-11. An interesting phenomenon occurs in the Christian movement. Let's call this diotreference, after the name of a man who did not accept his brothers in faith into his community and slandered them. Although this phenomenon is not entirely Christian, it is characteristic of many features of our society and, by and large, is the cause of the sinful nature of a person who desires personal power by any means and methods. Such a strange desire to dominate, to lead everything, to be the first, to be visible everywhere. On the one hand, it's not a bad thing at all if you strive for better, bigger, and perfect things, and certainly if you have the ability to do so. But the positive thing about being a leader or, say, a manager in a good deed is good only in one case, if it is given to you from above and if it serves the glory of God. That is, to be the first in something. Actually, the Apostle Paul, in a way, gave a good assessment of the desire to be the first. Do you not know that those who run in a race all run, but one receives the prize? Run in such a way that you may obtain it. And everyone who competes for the prize is temperate in all things. Now they do it to obtain a perishable crown, but we for an imperishable crown. Therefore I run thus, not with uncertainty. Thus I fight, not as one who beats the air. But I discipline my body and bring it into subjection, lest, when I have preached to others, I myself should become disqualified. 1 Corinthians 9:24-27. So run to get it. Like in a competition, only in the spiritual realm. And in the Epistle to Timothy, Paul approves of a believer's striving for a better and, of course, more responsible service to God. The word is true, if anyone desires a bishopric, he desires a good deed. 1 Timothy 3:1. If anyone wants a bishopric, he wants a good deed. And it turns out, on the one hand, the desire for higher spiritual service in the church is encouraged, that is, ambitious impulses. On the other hand, the phenomenon called Diotrephism is condemned by the Holy Scriptures. I think it's important to understand and comprehend how the desire to be the first in the church can be both a positive and a serious negative in the cause of God. And try to realize why, perhaps, serious damage has been done to what one actually devoted himself to. It's like politics here. A wrong assessment of the situation, wrong actions and discord in society, the collapse of the economy, the degradation of the population. In other words, Diotrepism is a spiritual disease based on human pride and disregard for other people. This disease, must be treated and not allowed among the people of God. First of all, how should the concept of diotreference be understood and where do the roots come from? As we can see from the scriptures, we are talking about a person who has been given the opportunity to be a leader in the church community. The Diotrephes. But, as it is written, peculiarity. First, he loves to take precedence. Second, he does not accept his brothers. Third, he slanders them. Fourth, forbids those who accept. And fifth, he expels them from the church. It's all negative. Here it is, a diotreference. But Diotrephes, who loves to have the preeminence among them, does not receive us. Therefore, if I come, I will call to mind his deeds which he does, prating against us with malicious words. And not content with that, he himself does not receive the brethren, and forbids those who wish to, putting them out of the church. All the signs of despotism and pride, that is, excessive self-esteem and spiritual theft. Diotrephism, in principle, is despotism, only in Christian ministry. Specifically, despotism, what is it? A state system in which the ruler, obeying his whims and weaknesses and pursuing his personal benefits and interests of the dynasty, rules not on the basis of laws, but arbitrarily called despotism. Wikipedia. A very accurate description of this phenomenon. Obeying their whims and weaknesses and pursuing their personal benefits and the interests of the dynasty. Obeying their whims and weaknesses. And pursuing their personal benefits and the interests of the dynasty. Whims, weaknesses, and one's own personal interests. That's the essence of the diotreference. And how much evil and problems despotism can bring in the church. Apparent piety often hides a despot, a crafty doer seeking his own personal gain. And, in fact, bringing ruin to the ranks of the people of God and in the preaching of the gospel. But then, of course, the question arises, how and under what circumstances does Diotrephism take root in a particular society? Why do people allow this phenomenon to happen? After all, the problem is often not who seized power, but who gives the go-ahead. That is, people who agree with the state of things. As they say, as the priest is, so is the parish. Or vice versa, as the parish is, so is the priest. In other words, if the people are passive, spiritually untrained, servile and short-sighted, then there is a very high probability of a favorable environment for the emergence of despotism or Diotrephism in society. Again, just like in politics. Sometimes, people themselves are worthy of the rulers who govern them. They are worthy in quotation marks, of course. From here, weak, crafty, greedy and egocentric individuals often reach power. Seizing the moment and taking advantage of the confusion and chaos in society, they seized power. Rulers who don't want to think about their country and their people. As the poet said, the ruler is weak and crafty. The bald-headed dandy, the enemy of labor. Unintentionally warmed by fame. He reigned over us then. The ruler is weak and crafty. The world around us lives by its own rules and concepts. It's bad when such rules get into the midst of God's people. If this happens, expect trouble. How many churches have simply collapsed for this reason? Mundane rules and concepts. One of them is diotreference. Hence, I think it is important to understand the main reasons for the existence of diotreferences. That is, the desire for power and the destruction of any competition. The reasons for this phenomenon. I will name 4 main ones. The first reason is the weakness of the leader. Spiritual weakness, of course. Otherwise, he, Diotrephes, would not have been afraid to accept other brothers in faith into his community. A man cannot carry out what he has been entrusted with or what he has taken on himself. There are no abilities, no powers, and there is no particular desire to do good and useful things in the cause of God. I take only the spiritual sphere. There is only a desire to rule in the church, but there is not enough spirit to give up his place to another, perhaps more capable one. Despots are ready to do literally anything for the sake of his power. Moreover, despots are often unable to look at themselves from the outside and evaluate their actions. Actually, they just don't have the desire to do any introspection. Yes, and there is no love for one's neighbor, even such as for oneself by faith, among those who love power, with habits of despotism, either. After all, as it was written, he does not accept brothers and forbids those who accept and expel such from the church. Moreover, despots, as a rule, do not want to look into the future and see what will happen after them, after their activities. They love and value only their own power and their immediate descendants. After them, at least the flood. The second reason is the destruction of all competition in the church by the despot by any means. Pay attention. I wrote to the church, but Diotrephes, who loves to have the preeminence among them, does not receive us. Therefore, if I come, I will call to mind his deeds which he does, prating against us with malicious words. And not content with that, he himself does not receive the brethren, and forbids those who wish to, putting them out of the church. He himself does not receive the brethren, and forbids those who wish to, putting them out of the church. Despots are afraid of competition, and they try to get rid of them by any means. Well, of course, they slander. That is, they are simply slandering the brothers, prating against us with malicious words, as it is written. Unfortunately, I've had to deal with something like this in my life. The third reason is personal gain. Power lovers often like to reap the fruits of their domination. Although, I admit, this is not always the case. Some, for the sake of power, are ready to sacrifice something financially. Power, domination is higher for them. However, personal gain is usually always present. Usually. Again, not always. The fourth reason, people. Yes, there are quite a lot of proud, greedy and power-hungry people in our society. They are like microbes in the body, they only get into a sick, weak society. But they, the power seekers, cannot act on their own if they are not given the opportunity by the very people around them. If in a sinful world, dominated by demonic spirits and ruled by the prince of this world, Satan, people are not really able to do anything about the situation, because everything is decided in the spiritual sphere. And the Lord allows what is happening on our planet to be. God has his own plans. Then, in the church, everything should be different. The Holy Spirit is present there. Must be present, there is no way without him. And where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. The Lord is the Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. 2 Corinthians 3:17. And where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. And basically, everything is decided by people, ecclesia. A gathering of believers. We have to decide. Universal priesthood. Verily I say unto you, whatsoever ye bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatsoever ye loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. Matthew 18:18. Whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. Please note that here we are talking about a gathering of believers. Their choice and will. Many problems related to discipline and leadership in the church are solved by the believers themselves. Again, we have to decide. Personal responsibility. But if people allow despotism to exist in the Christian community, then who is to blame? The local people themselves are to blame. The trouble, especially in our time, for modern Christians is their passivity, and unwillingness to make any decisions themselves. Unfortunately, many people don't care. What is freedom, what is slavery? Without a difference. That despotism or complete unbridledness reigns in the church. It doesn't matter. The spirit of the Laodicean church, described in the Holy Scriptures. Conclusion? There are four main reasons for the existence of Diotrephism in the church. The first reason is the weakness of the leader. Spiritual weakness, of course. The second reason is the destruction of all competition in the church by the despot by any means. The third reason is personal gain. The fourth reason is the passivity of people. Diotrepism as a despotic manifestation among the people of God is a dangerous phenomenon that must certainly be combated. We have only one authority in the spiritual sphere, and that is God himself in the person of Jesus Christ. We're all brothers to each other. Everyone has their own work and service and responsibility to our Creator. Be blessed.